Okay, in this example, let's talk about Countifs. So how do we use Countifs in Excel spreadsheet? Let's start with example number 1. I have here the list of items and the branch transaction. Now, my objective is to get the total inventory per item per branch. Before we start with the formula, we can simplify the data by adding name manager. To start with, let me highlight B3 to B10. Click on the name box and let us name this as items. Press enter. For the branch, let me highlight branch and let's type branch. Press enter. Now for the formula of Countifs, we can simply type equal Countifs and then open parentheses. Countifs contains multiple criteria range and criteria. The maximum capacity of Countifs is up to 127 criteria per equation. Now, for criteria range number 1, let me type items, comma. For criteria 1 is laptop, which is positioned in cell E3. Now, before we continue on the next part of the formula, we need to add $sign on column E. Why this is important? Because as you can see, all items is placed in column E. So whenever we move the formula on any direction, column E is fixed in this formula. Next, comma. For criteria range number 2, let me type branch. Specific branch that I would like to add in the formula is Manila. You can find that in cell F2. Let me add $sign before the number. Similar to what we have for E3 or for items, branch data is located in row number 2. The reason why I add a $sign for row number 2 is to fix that row in the formula so that whenever we drag the formula in any cell reference, it will stick on looking up in row number 2. Now, we have here items and branch for the name manager and E3 for and F2 for the criteria. Let me press enter and autofill. This is now the result of the report coming from this table. You don't need to sort the data source for you to get these numbers. The most important thing is to add name manager before you implement any formula. Looking at this table, according to this table, we don't have any transaction in Manila with tablet item, Cebu with laptop, and Davao with phone. You can double check your table now. And as you can see, we will not display or we don't have any value of tablet in Manila, laptop in Cebu, and phone in Davao. And again, for the formula, that is with the use of Countifs. Let me give you one more example. Let me go to example number 2. For example number 2, this time we have multiple criteria. We have 3 sets of criteria. Items, branch, and the last one is transaction date. The objective is, let's say I want to know the inventory or the total count of transaction per item per branch and on a specific date. Let's say all transactions of first quarter of 2021. So how do we do that? Before you start with this one, let me name the following. First, let me highlight column B, row 3 to row 10. Let me name this as IT, short for items. Next, let me highlight C3 to C10. Let's name this as BR. And last, let me highlight D3 to D10. Let me name this as TD. All right, I'm using acronym this time because in eManager, you cannot repeat any existing names within the same file. So I added BR, IT, and TD. TD is for transaction date. Lastly, if I need first quarter report, I can simply add here a reference greater than or equal to January 1, 2021, and then less than or equal to March 31, 2021. Let me name this first cell as start and the second cell as end. All those name managers will be applied in the formulas. To start with, let me begin with cell G3 by typing equal countifs. The first criteria range is referring to items, comma, specific item, laptop. Add $sign before letter F to fix the value of column F wherein we can find all the available items. Comma. Next, branch. Sorry, for this one, let me type IT. All right, the first one at items, let's use IT. Then specific, that's F3 with $sign. Next, BR for branch, comma, criteria to Manila. G2 is on horizontal pattern. On the side of Manila, Cebu, Davao, let me add $sign before number 2. So I have IT, F3, BRG2. Next, if I need to add a criteria for the date transaction, let me just add here for criteria range number 3, that's TD. Next, start. And then, comma, for criteria range 4, that's TD, comma, and then end. All right, so this is the complete formula to display the total count per item per branch and inside the first quarter on the transaction date. Okay, so name manager, as you can see in the function, can simplify the displaying of data inside the formula. So make sure that before you start with any Excel function, you can name it first, and then right after, you can start creating Excel function. Now, press enter. Let's look at this one. Autofill. Now, looking at this table, we have one laptop in Manila, one phone in Manila, one tablet in Cebu. You can find that here that these 3 transactions are plotted in your table. If I need the second quarter report, I can simply change the start to April 1 and to June 30. And then you'll notice this table will update based on the current reference on the date. You can always go back to the original setup and we use the annual report. January 1, 2021 to December 31, 2021. And this is your annual report with the use of Countifs function in Microsoft Excel.